Hello. Now for everyone who's watching this is definitely. And we were just saying to Jack before we came on air how much of a blast from the past this was because obviously we were both at Fan TV at one point. Well, Jack I think still is, but no, we used to do streams together, particularly during the lockdown in League One. But Jack Dodds is back, everyone, and I thought it'd be nice to have a nice little chat, and we'll talk about how, apart from when we were commentating on Sunderland games, compared to now, Sunderland actually look minted football, which is quite nice to say. But Jack, ignore the fact I've asked you this 2 minutes ago. How are you doing?
I'm going to give you a completely different answer. I'm terrible, mate.
Yeah.
No, very well, mate. Great to catch up. Obviously, it has been a long time since I'd be sat in the same exact spot, and you would be as well, talking about Chris Maguire running around and Denver Hume putting crosses in, and
Calvin Patchin getting rinsed at left back, you know.
Yeah, been a very long time. Football's in a very different place. Mainly us, but nonetheless, a great chance to catch up, man.
No, it absolutely is. And no, it's been nice. It is nice just to appreciate how different the landscape around Sunderland is. And I think one of the, one thing for fun, right? Sometimes I've gone back through our old streams just to see what the commentary was like. And the one that sticks out to me is probably the Crew one. You remember when we were 2-0 down, we were absolutely battered, and then was it Jordan Jones and Chris Maguire scored two absolute screamers?
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, the two really good goals right at the end.
Yeah, I remember that. And then I think, obviously, I remember Philly at that point was sort of going if I could try not and spoil because my stream was ahead of yours and Dino's, I think, trying not to spoil the commentary.
And you were like an excited child when we're still going, oh, and Sunderland are coming forward. You go, yes!
Yeah, that's literally, I was just going, get in! When Chris Maguire scores, I was like, well, tough luck, Philly. There's no way I was going to be able to contain myself there.
You know what, though, Michael? That was one of the hardest things about doing those streams is, let's say you were commentating and Philly was there, and I've just seen the goal go in, and I've just got to sit there with my hand.
It's hard, isn't it? Like
even my hands.
Even the first goal when Jordan, and I watched this back when Jordan Jones scores, I do no emotion whatsoever. And Dino was just, when he goes, has a shot, what a goal! And then you just ask her, how did you not react there? I was like, blame Philly for that.
And then you've all then got to go, hang on, we're there. And it's a goal. Everyone celebrates at the same time.
Feels like VAR, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, at least with VAR, you get to celebrate twice. With this one,
that is very true.
Just like delayed gratification. You're like, I know what's happening.
But it's hard, isn't it, though, when you're having to try and contain your emotions when everyone else is still catching up. And also, let's not talk about the dodgy internet signals, because that was all over the place. Thankfully, at the moment, touch wood, this looks to be all right now. But we'll see. But yeah, that was always one of those moments.
I still think there's some goals that you haven't seen with your internet.
Probably not. No. I haven't seen what goals is there that I don't really care about. I don't know. Max Power, whoever it was that scored against bloody Northampton Town in League One. In fact, Stevie Watson, this guy's a Plymouth fan, but he actually does have a soft spot for Sunderland. So I've only just seen Ross Stewart's goal away at Plymouth. Away in League One. That's just mental. How you doing, Stevie? So no, Stevie messaged me quite a bit about Sunderland, and hopefully Plymouth I think Plymouth are struggling in League One last time I checked. But we'll have a look at that. Anyway, we'll talk about Sunderland in a minute. Hello there, Jack, I'm going to say. Is that the name? I don't know. EAC ZXZX or whatever that is. I'm terrible with names. Anyway, let's talk about how Sunderland seem to be doing all right at the minute. Let's start with Saturday. Yeah, why not? Let's milk it for all it's worth. We've been through enough shite, so let's enjoy this while it's still pretty good. But let's just ignore that bit. But go on then.
That, mate. You can shout it from the rooftops.
Sorry, what was that? 7 points above the richest club in the world. Yeah. Whether we stay above them, time will tell. I think there's still a long way to go on that one. But let's start with Sunderland 2, Arsenal 2. And obviously, for someone who only was able to watch it on the TV and was into the game, I would say the atmosphere looked incredible. And I mean, just like from the start of the game to the poppy displays, to the atmosphere during the game in general, and of course the limbs at the end, which looked amazing. Take me through the day, Sunderland 2, Arsenal 2.
Yeah, do you know what? I feel like that's one of those games that for me will go down as one of those ones that I'll remember in many years' time. So for me, like, for example, one game that always gets spoken about is when we beat Chelsea 3-2 and we stayed up. I mean, that's obviously very different because we were under a lot of pressure then and we really had to win. Whereas we weren't really actually under that much pressure on Saturday, but
no, we weren't.
Nonetheless, it still felt like a massive occasion. Those old enough to remember, it's a little bit before my time, but the Carlos Edwards goal against Burnley, would that have been about 2007? that's one of those games that people look back on for a long time. And I feel like this Arsenal game really had that kind of feeling. Um, I felt like for me the delayed kickoff, it being a 5:30 instead of a 3 o'clock, just meant there was another kind of 2.5 hours of anticipation. You know, every game that we have at the minute, I think we're all anticipating so much. We're all so excited. We're so looking forward to seeing how we're going to deal with the different challenges. So to stick another 2.5 hours wait on that on the Saturday, really kind of, I felt like it felt like a bigger occasion. The sun had just gone down. You could feel the atmosphere in the town was a little bit lively, probably because people had an extra 2.5 hours to drink. But also things like the new bridge are really helping. People literally leave 20 minutes before kickoff and still get in on time. The poppy display was absolutely brilliant. That's probably the best one they've ever done. I really liked as well how the Arsenal fans were involved in that. Obviously, it's probably the only time you would ever get the away fans involved in something like that.
It's classy all the same, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a really, really nice touch. Everyone joined in with it as well. It was that was absolutely brilliant. And I think for me going into that game, it was like I actually had quite a lot of confidence because for me it was like we've got nothing to lose. We're going to play a team that's won 10 games in a row, kept 8 clean sheets in a row, who are, in my opinion, the best team in Europe and then in the world at the minute.
Yeah.
And if we turn up and we get beat, there's not really any any
no
kind
shame
of
in it, is there?
shame in that. No, but I tell you what, if we can turn up and just score a goal, like even if we get beat but we score a goal, we've done something that no one who played them in the entire month of October was able to do. And Ballard gets the goal, and the stadium's in disbelief. It almost seems like we went 1-0 up, and then the late equaliser as well. It's just like you say, like I was saying before. For me, it's one of those games that I just think I'll remember probably forever. I'm not going to remember when we beat Wolves 2-0 earlier in the season. A great result, brilliant result, but I'm probably not going to remember it forever. But that against Arsenal was just, like I say, I think one of those games that I think we'll look back on for a long time now.
Yeah, it probably will be among the Stadium of Light classic in the way that it sort of did pan out. And they might say mental saying that about a 2-2 draw, but given the context of where Arsenal are, given how, I think was it Newcastle away was the last time they conceded in all competitions.
Yeah, end of September.
So you're talking well of 6 weeks between Newcastle and Sunderland away, and then to go 1-0 up, continue, and obviously the story of Sunderland and being the surprise. We are probably the surprise package. In fact, there's no probably about it. I would say we are the surprise package by some way this season. How well we've started, but even going 1-0 up, and then even with Arsenal having a half an hour spell where I thought they were very dominant and we were struggling to live with them, but that's not through a fault of Sunderland. It's more just how Arsenal have just set the pace this season, and then even getting the late equaliser at the very end was something special. We'll get onto that a little later on, but I mean, I think as well you're right about how even for this game, I mean, it felt very different. Again, not to make too many comparisons to the League One days, but almost every home game in League One, unless you were playing, who was at the top, Portsmouth, for example, or someone like that, and you think, well, okay, then the point's not disastrous here, but most of them you're like, no, we have to be winning this.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas this game you felt, and probably for good reason, but this game, I looked at it and went, if we get anything out of this, then I'm happy. I mean, obviously if it ended 2-2, but we were 2-0 up with 10 minutes to go, then it's a bit different. But in a general context, to get anything out of this is just absolutely incredible. And look, the caveat is, Arsenal had, what was it, Odegaard, Havertz, Jesus, Martinelli, Gyökeres. Gyökeres in particular, who I think is a massive miss for them on Saturday. When they were, if Gyökeres was playing, part of me thinks we get beat, but that's not our problem. It's not our...
No, because if you look at what they've done still with Marino up front,
exactly,
over the last sort of year or so, they've still had some brilliant results with him. I mean, was he not playing when they won 3-0? Quite recently, he was playing up
in the
front.
Champions League, I think it was.
A couple of goals, yeah, I seem to remember that. You've also got to bear in mind they had two of the first names on England's team sheet playing in Saka and Rice. Arguably the best. I would say Saka's probably in the top 3 right wingers in the league. Declan Rice is probably the best.
You're going to be hard pressed to find a better midfielder than Rice at the moment.
Yeah, I think Declan Rice is the best midfielder in the league. Saka's right up there.
Trossard's a good player as well. Gabriel, David Raya,
as you proved that second goal. And one thing that really struck me about Arsenal, and I actually, funny enough, said this probably about 90 seconds before Ballard scored the first goal, but I went, God, you can see why these don't concede much. And we hadn't even really had a chance to see what they were like defensively when we put them under the cosh. But that's because they were so good at just boxing you into your own final third. Like, there was times where we were trying to pass the ball out and we'd pass it once or twice, and it's just nothing was on. Or someone would make a run, and then one of their massive midfielders, 8-foot midfielders, would just come over and just clatter you. And sometimes it was a foul, but sometimes it was just pure physicality and strength. Their back four are all complete giants, and I just felt like every single time that we tried to get over even the halfway line in the first half, it felt like an impossible task. I mean, it says a lot that before the Ballard goal, the best chance that we had really was when Isidore just sort of dragged that shot wide with his left foot from quite an unfavourable angle. It was a half chance, really. They're so physical. Like, for all, we still managed to get a point against them. I was really impressed by them. I can see why they're doing so well, because they're so hard to play against.
No, well, and especially if they are boxing people in their own third, then it's almost like they don't have an opportunity to test them defensively. So that's often one of the things that that's quite impressive, really. I think I remember there was a stat a couple of years ago when Liverpool and Man City were battling out for the Premier League title, and there was an argument about why Man City were the best defensive team, because they played so far forward that their defence was barely troubled. And I think that's kind of a good way to look at it with Arsenal. But you're right. I mean, look, like I said, even with the players they had out missing, like you said, Declan Rice, Leandro Trossard, Bakayoko Saka, Mikel Merino, Gabriel, David Raya, there's still loads of absolute quality within that Arsenal setup. And I think you're right. I think for Arsenal, I was talking to the Arsenal fan. I was in the pub. That was in the pub watching the game. I spoke to him afterwards and said that this is your year to win the league, because I think Man City, if they get a run together, could maybe challenge more. And obviously the gap's 4 points. But I look at Liverpool, for example, and whenever I watch their performances for the standard they should be setting, they've been quite bang average in my opinion when I've seen of them. So
all over the place at the back, Liverpool.
Sorry,
they're all over the. Got no organisation.
No, I agree. So I think when we don't get me wrong, when we go to Anfield, I think it's within a few weeks, isn't it? When we go to Anfield, I don't expect anything, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility of us going there and getting a point, maybe. So I think but that's the big to get onto Sunderland. But at the same time, Jack's just put this in here. If I can get the comment on the screen, Nordy had a big chance before half time. Yeah, there was the one. That was the one when he shot wide from not far off the 6-yard box, wasn't it? Liverpool are terrible away from home. Well, hopefully in February they are. But they weren't terrible first away game of the season away at St James's Park. So that's all right then. But no Newcastle digs, of course. But saying that though, I think I was his first half in particular, I was extremely impressed with how Sunderland. Well, from the half of the first half I saw, Sunderland looked extremely impressive at. Limiting Arsenal to I think like one chance, and that's about it. And even then, obviously it was a shot. There was a free shot in the penalty area, but other than that, I think we contained them excellently. And I think that it was one where, because what I think is a strength with us, and Regis Labrise in particular, is we're happy to surrender the ball and happy to go, right, that's fine. Obviously the great Conrad Lee is here because me and Jack both know from Fan TV, and obviously I'm on the Midweek Mackham's podcast with him. He made a point on Arsenal Fan TV, and I think his point is accurate. We dominate games, but without having possession, and I think that's because you don't always have to.
It's like a bit of an oxymoron, but it really makes sense.
No, exactly. But you don't have to always have the possession to control games, do you? Because if you're sitting in a low to mid block and the opposition are doing nothing, that's you controlling a game, because they can't break you down. And then all of a sudden, all it takes is a misplaced pass. It takes a frustrated mistake or whatever it is. So, but in the first half, I thought Sunderland deserved the lead. At half time, I thought we were looking really good. I thought that even if we weren't creating loads and loads of chances in quick succession, it's Arsenal, the top of the league. If we try to do that, we would get absolutely murdered and destroyed. So I think the balance between being solid defensively but causing problems was fantastic. And in the first half, at half time, I'm guessing like me, you were probably on cloud 9, going, we're actually, oh my God, we're actually beating Arsenal.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. And do you know what? I had full confidence that we were still going to go and get a result. At no point was I going, but have we just sort of shaken a bee's nest? Because sometimes you can do that against the big
Yeah,
teams.
I know what you
You
mean.
get an early goal. Sometimes it's the worst thing you could do because you just anger them. And Man City will be like that years ago. You would get one. You might get an early goal against them, but then they just put 5 past you. And it's just you've shaken the bee's nest and you've woken them up. But I really wasn't nervous at all. At half time, and like you say, do you know what I thought we did really well? I thought we just matched them up really well. Arsenal, a physical big team of bullies, and I think what their game plan would have been to try and do is to try and get crosses into Marino, pack the box with the likes of Zubamendi and Rice getting in there, and I think with how defensively we set up and the big physical lads that we had at the back, especially going with 3 centre halves again, as much as I think it made it difficult for us to get out, we just matched them up really well, and they had so much of the ball, but they just couldn't really do anything with it. But then equally, I think they matched us quite well because when we did get the ball, there was nowhere for us to go. I felt like in that first half, apart from the couple of times that we did get forward, I don't know if I would have necessarily said that we deserved to be ahead at half time, but we certainly didn't look the worst team at all. I think we looked pretty even, really. We looked as if we were just cancelling each other out, I thought.
Yeah, I can get that. I think the reason I think we deserve these because I think we got our tactics absolutely bang on for the most part. I think that for as much they have physicality and athleticism and everything else, I felt Sunderland dealt with that superbly. And obviously Dan Ballard, of course, runs into the box and then just produces a striker's finish pretty much. So I think there was I can't remember who put it on social media, but there was a tweet that went out after the game, and it says something like, since the Coventry playoff semi-finals, Dan Ballard seems to have been on a personal mission to become the most colossal best centre-back in the entirety of the world, or something like that. And do you see there was a tweet from Paddy Power or whatever it was, saying if there's an asteroid heading towards Earth, all we need to do is put big Dan Ballard onto it and just head it away. Like, the rise of Dan Ballard has just been phenomenal, and people forget he was our third choice centre-back effectively for a lot of last season when Luke O'Nien and Chris Meffin playing a lot.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I was listening to Roker Report, and they were talking about that a lot, saying last season you would have Mepham and O'Nien would be the two that would start with the centre half. Ballard was on the bench and he didn't get a look in. I even remember on the way down to the first Coventry leg going, nah, it's got to be Mepham and O'Nien. It's got to be Mepham and O'Nien. That's our strongest two at the back. And then, like you say, I think it was. I mean, he had a great game at the away leg, and then he scored that goal in the home one. And I think you're right. He has literally just been on a personal rampage to try and become the best centre half in the world. It's crazy to look at last season. He was effectively a fringe player who wasn't getting that many minutes. And you look at how unbelievable he's been since that goal went in both boxes. I mean, a goal and an assist in a game. And the goal that he got was one that Isidore would have been proud of. You know what I mean? Like a half volley into the top corner, running with the ball. When does that ever happen from a centre half? Such an intelligent flick to just put it into a real area of uncertainty for Raya and our strikers. Put Raya in a real place of jeopardy. That block that he made at the end as well, throwing himself in front of the ball.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And do you know what it is? I don't know Dan Ballard personally. He might have grown up with the dream of playing for Northern Ireland. I don't know. But
they call him Mickey Gray. He can play for England.
My perception of Ballard has always been that play for Northern Ireland is that he chose to play for Northern Ireland because he thought I'm better off doing that and I'll play for them and I'm never going to get a chance in the England team. A bit like how, let's face it, a lot of the Wales and Scotland and Irish teams generally are made up of is players who, have got some kind of heritage from that country, from, their grandparents or whatever, and they could play for either and they're playing for them because they want to play in national football.
Yeah.
If he hadn't done that, if he just stuck to... If he just stuck to and hadn't placed his allegiance yet, if he continues this form that he's got going at the end of the season, he 100% goes to World Cup with England. 100%.
There's definitely a conversation for it.
Honestly, I think if he was eligible, he'd be called up for the international break that we're in right now.
Well, he is the best centre back in the world now, so you never know. Why not? But yeah, joking aside, like I think obviously I think when everyone was talking about a man of the match, I think it's hard to put it past Dan Ballard really. But let's get on to the second half. So I want to get this comment. So second half, Jack says, sorry, if your name is actually Jack, please tell us. But we'll see. Second half, they pressed way higher. Now, I want to give credit to Arsenal. Well, credit to Arsenal and to some extent Sunderland here, because I feel like second half, where I would say is that opening 30 minutes of the second half, I thought Arsenal did batter us. And I think that it was, and I think I wanted to sort of build on what you were saying before, where when sometimes against someone like an Arsenal or Man City, you can score a goal and it angers them, it wakes them up. And I feel like Arsenal kind of did that second half, where I think there was one effort, I think, from Zubamendi. I can't remember if it was at 1-0 or 1-1 that just was just toe wide past the post, past Roofs. There was the one where Saka has the shot from the left-hand side that goes wide. Zubamendi at 1-1 hits the bar. So I was
that was the one that I had my heart in my mouth for.
Yeah, that was at 1-1, wasn't it? I was thinking, oh no,
Yeah.
Christ, these are going to go 2-1 up here. But the only one slight negative that I've got, and you can probably guess what's going to come. The first goal pisses me off because it is all. And don't get me wrong, I understand the concept of teams liking to play out from the back. Personally, it gives me heart palpitations because I think all it takes is one mistake, and then all of a sudden you're pressed like nothing, and then all of a sudden it's a goal. So the first goal is a prime example of this. And I'm not going to slate Lafay too much because in general I think he's been very good for us this season. So it's only fair to apparently says just call me Nick. All right then, Nick, mate. Nick Barnes.
Quite an easy name to say, really, Nick, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just pretty much one syllable. Same way with Jack, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, Lafay obviously dilly-dallies in his own third, gives the ball away. Now, apparently on the Midweek Mackham podcast last night, someone commented to me and Conrad and to Wayne that it was Roofs was apparently calling for the ball from Lafay in that moment. Now, I don't know that because the TV doesn't show that, so I don't know how accurate that is. But I was shouting at the TV, like, I mean, obviously not that the players can hear us, obviously, but I was shouting at the TV. And
not from Manchester.
No, of course not, yeah. No, of course, it's got to
get maybe if you'd been in the front row of the North Stand, you might have stood a slim chance.
Well, I'll tell you what, to lead on to it, from your point of view, for me, the first goal's really frustrating because I think up till that point, Arsenal had a couple of efforts, but I thought in general we were standing up to the storm reasonably well, which sounds mental since I've said Arsenal battered us first 30 minutes of the second half, but it just was
what happens against the best team in Europe at the minute. You know what I mean?
Of course, you're going to have spells of pressure, but the point is that makes that goal more annoying because it's like, well, you've done all that effort to do that, and then a mistake is what costs you a goal.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, when that goal went in, as much as this may contradict slightly what I was saying before, I said actually I think that has been coming. There was quite a few moments in particular in the first half. And I think what it was a case of us being on the edge of our own box. Arsenal were boxing us in so well. We were trying to just get out and play a little bit and try and get the ball up the pitch. And they were doing such a good job of containing us that we were making such stupid mistakes and we kept giving the ball away unnecessarily in really dangerous areas. Reynaldo did it a couple of times. Lafay did it a couple of times. I think I can remember Mukele doing it a couple of times, but everyone was probably guilty of it at least once or twice.
It's not just Lafay, obviously, yeah.
And that goal just happened to be at the end of a chain of quite a few times where in and around that area, edge of our own box, just slightly further forward than that, we kept giving the ball away cheaply in areas that we really didn't need to. What annoyed me in particular about that goal is I have seen us play out from the back this season and we can be really good at it. There was one certain move and it was from a home game earlier this season and I think the right centre-half passed it back to Roofs and then Roofs passed it to Alderete and he just turned, passed it into the midfield and within 3 or 4 passes we went from being under pressure to like on the attack. And again, it would help if I could remember when it was from, but it was a really good move. We've had a few of those, and I think everyone has to be able to do it in the Premier League to an extent, but you have to know when and where to do it. And there's a split second where Lafay has to know, I'm not getting out with this. There's no way that I'm going to keep the ball in this situation. I'm under too much pressure. And at that point, mate, just kick it out for a throw-in.
Exactly, I was saying the same.
Like, genuinely, just boot it and everyone get back. It might be, it possibly was the Wolves game. It was fairly recently. And then, everyone gets back and we can just defend and think about that later. again, I don't want to dig Lafay out too much, like you said, because he has been really good this season. And I think one thing he hasn't been given enough credit for is how hard he's been working.
I
Like the
agree.
graft he puts in up and down that wing. It reminds me of Patrick Roberts. He gets up and down, and then I remember against Chelsea, he fought so hard, and it was just to win a throw in. Up right at the top, he was on the floor and he was still battling. And he got up and he kicked off the Chelsea pin. He got a throw in. He battles for absolutely everything, and his technical ability is really good. He plays some really good passes. His touch and his control, when someone pings the ball at him from 50 yards away and he just takes it down with one touch, is sublime. Um, it just so happened that it was one mistake, and ultimately he was trying to do the right thing, play out. But yeah, it frustrated me as well. And for me, that type of goal was coming, and I was annoying because it was like, look, we're playing against the best team in the league right now. Don't give them any more of the ball than what they already have. Don't give them any more opportunities than what they've already got. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
like don't give them chances because they'll create them anyway. So it was frustrating, but I think one thing about the Sunderland team, and in particular Lebris, is that we always tend to learn from things. I think he really learned from the Man United game, and hopefully we can take lessons from that. And Lafay's not going on national duty. Might be something that we can work on as a team. I hope over the break.
Well, that's a point you make about how learning from things. And I think, to be fair, even though afterwards I thought Arsenal did create chances, of course, like some pretty good ones. Of course, they're the top of the league; they're going to. But I agree with you on Lebris, particularly Lebris. But I think players learning from the Man United game, and it's probably no coincidence looking back if you look at it from that perspective. Why we've got 4 points from Chelsea and Arsenal. Obviously, Chelsea being away from home, Arsenal top of the league. So but you're right. But then, obviously, yeah, I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to dig Lafay out too much. I think he's just, and I agree with you about the work rate thing. I was someone who felt like Lafay should be through the centre and that's it. But on the wing, he's actually impressed me a hell of a lot more than I thought, than I was expecting him to do. So, well, before we got into the second Arsenal, let's quickly get this comment. Ultra Rebel Hope. Do you guys think we'll actually get Lopez from Barcelona? We've got about as much chance of me looking like Thor from the Marvel movies.
So nailed on then.
Oh,
Already
well,
signed.
if only, hi, if only. Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, I'm guessing you've seen that rumor, Jack. But for me,
Yeah, I heard about
I
it
think that's
yesterday.
very sensationalist clickbait stuff. If I'm honest.
I don't look into any kind of rumours at all until the club confirms stuff. Honestly, with these signings we made over the summer, people are going, I remember we were close to signing such and such, and there's been a lot said about was it a Polish goalkeeper who's went to Saudi Arabia or something, and we were after him. Honestly,
Marcin Bulka, you mean?
I had no idea. I don't pay any attention until the club posts a photo of them with the scarf. So I don't know.
No, fair enough. I mean, Richard did say here. I think it is nice to be get linked with such talent. But yeah, I'd
Yeah.
be astonished if that was any. I suppose you never know. I said if you told me at the start of the summer window, and I know the circumstances are a bit different with player ages and circumstances, but if you told me at the start of the summer window, someone's going to sign Granit Xhaka, haha, do one.
Yeah.
You've took too many illegal substances. You need to stop doing it. So yeah, we'll wait and see.
That
Oh
was
yeah,
one of those rumours that I just refused to believe until even when I saw, there was a photo that was leaked of him facing the other way, stood with Xhaka 34 in the back, and it was like a photo shoot, but someone had like leaked a photo of the photo shoot. I didn't even believe that. I thought that'd be AI. There's no way that's true. And then the next day, the club obviously announced that he'd signed.
yeah, so and generally, Sunderland. On another note, Sunderland are generally very good at keeping cards close to their chest. Actually, so maybe it could happen. I don't know, but I'd be very surprised if it did. But yeah, I'll just quickly get through some more of the comments. In my opinion, lads, we are missing Alderete. Long balls to get us out of trouble. He plays some lovely passes. Yeah, we forget about that. He's been missing from concussion for the last 2-3 games. I think it is.
Funny one. I feel like usually when players are out with concussion, they might only miss one game. He's missed quite a few in a row, so that is a strange one.
Mm.
And was there Dan Neil as well who had concussion in training? He had to. I mean,
Possibly.
he would have only been on the bench, but there was someone else who had concussion as well at some point in the last couple of weeks. I wonder what they're doing in training.
Well, to be fair, whenever we say someone's going to be out for 2 weeks, it turns into about a month. So
Usually it's a case of that's it for the rest of the contract now.
pretty much, yeah. So look at Habib Diarra's out till December, right? So really, it's going to be February. We're going to look at it.
He's back for the Mags game. He'll come back for the
I hope
Mags
he is.
game.
I really. The
Play
problem
that
is,
and then go to AFCON.
I mean, yeah. Well, the problem is he going to be fit enough, match sharp enough to go right? Okay, just go and play in one of the most intense games in the Premier League. Oh yeah, by the way, there you go after AFCON. See you later. So yeah. Actually, we'll make a point in a little bit about something I was going to mention, but yeah, the second Arsenal goal. Now, I've seen a bit of criticism for Siddiqui, I think it is, for
Mhm.
letting Trossard have the shot. Now, this is coming from me. I actually think you've got to just credit Trossard's goal. Personally, I think it's you can maybe say Siddiqui could have closed him down quicker and what else, and and trust me, this is Jack knows himself. I usually ripped apart constantly goals we conceded and go like what we could have done better. In my own opinion, you can maybe say Siddiqui could have came out quicker, but I think you've also got even if so, you've got to credit Trossard at the same time because that is just well placed. Well, it's a shot that it's one of those dangerous shots for me where it looks like it's going wide, but then at the last second it speeds past the post, and
Yeah.
I mean that's still criticism with Robin. I mean Robin Roofs apparently said he was disappointed for both goals, which I can get more with the first one, even if people think it's. I mean, obviously you might know better than me, but yeah, I think it's harsh to blame anyone too much for the second goal. I think it's just well hit from Trossard.
I certainly wouldn't blame Roofs for either of them. I really don't think there was anything he could have done about either of them. Um, I think there's two parts to the Trossard goal. So initially, the first time I saw it, I was basically applauding myself. I was what a strike that is.
Yeah.
To have only been given an extra yard or so of space, he barely had chance to get the ball out of his feet, and by the time he kicked the ball, it was already in the roof of the net. It was an unbelievable strike. One thing I will say now that I've watched it back quite a few times is I do think Siddiqui probably just slightly misreads the game in that moment, and he ends up actually stepping away from Trossard and giving him extra space. I think he thought someone else was going to pick Trossard up and he was going to mark
Yeah.
someone or something like that. I think he just misread something a little bit there slightly. And ultimately, it was Siddiqui giving him that little extra bit of space that did allow him to get the shot off. And what we did so well in the first half was not allow Arsenal to do things like get a shot off, because we were so compact. So I can see why people are, sort of blaming Siddiqui a little bit for that goal, because I do think ultimately if he doesn't give him that space, he probably doesn't get the shot off. I am noticing with Siddiqui a little bit, the last few games, a little bit of sloppiness coming in now and again. I would have said a few games ago, he's been our best player of the season, and he's still putting in, 8, 9 out of 10 performances.
Yeah.
But I am starting to notice a few times now where he's given the ball away a little bit in poor situations. I was quite disappointed in him when he got the yellow card against Everton, because when you get a yellow card early on in the game, you're always then kind of playing on what I would describe playing on half a tackle. You can't really put any proper
You're on a
tackle.
tightrope, aren't you? Really?
Yeah, and it was just completely unnecessary because he'd lost his temper, and it frustrates me so much. Like when Ronaldo got sent off against Aston Villa, if it's just a case if you can't control your temper, it frustrates me so much. So I have noticed a little bit of sloppiness coming in, giving the ball away a few times and stuff. But I mean, how old's Siddiqui? 20, 19,
Something
20?
like that. At oldest, he's 21.
Yeah, first season playing in the Premier League. He's been an absolute revelation these first 11 games. He's still playing really well. But naturally, younger players, do tend to make mistakes and stuff when they're kind of still making their way into the team. So, yeah. To answer your question, I can't see what people are saying about the second goal. I do think he could have done a little bit better, and he did kind of misread it a little bit, but a great strike from Trossard.
Yeah, no, both can be true, I suppose, to be fair. Terry Ward asked an interesting question, which I think you're on drugs, mate, but he goes, can we win the Premiership? Probably not.
Mathematically, yes.
I mean, yeah, mathematically, of course we could, but being realistic, probably not. But we can all dream. We can all dream. To be fair, we'll just have to settle for Champions League instead. So we'll just see. Generally, don't remember him giving the ball away, Jack. In my opinion, I'm guessing this must be. I can't remember. It was Siddiqui's on about here.
I think it was probably Siddiqui, because Lafille gave the ball away in the lead up with the Arsenal game. I can remember Siddiqui giving the ball away a couple of times in the first half against Arsenal. In particular, sort of just 5-10 yards in front of the box, to the left slightly. So yeah, that's when I can remember him giving the ball away.
Okay, well, and even then, to be fair though, I think a part of that is also down to having to credit Arsenal, because I think when Arsenal are pressing you so much and so much, your decisions become rushed. You're then having to think more quickly on your feet, and you're more susceptible to giving the ball away. So I think a part of that is while we were making mistakes, I think it's all about, so to a great extent, is about how Arsenal ended up doing as well. One thing but the thing is, Sunderland did stay in the game though, and that was the big thing. Is we weren't out of sight. It was 2-1. And apparently, I think Arteta made a couple of defensive changes later on in the game at 1-1, and at 1-1, and this is something I've said loads of times, that this is the one thing I criticise about Labrise, is sometimes I think he's too late bringing substitutions on, and I'd like him to give players more time to impact a game. But having said all of that, in this game he did do that. He brought on Talby, Adingra and Broby with like half an hour to go. And then actually weirdly then, because I felt the second half was in sort of two halves itself. First half, second half I thought was all Arsenal. And I thought the second half of the second half, that sounds weird to say, second half of the second half, I thought Sunderland had better of it in general, apart from the block at the end. Like, Broby had two great chances, we forget, before he scored, where there was one where, I can't remember if Ballard it might have been Ballard winning the header because he's just Colossus, but the ball came from the left-hand side across the box. I think David Raya gets to it slightly, and then on the rebound, Broby then has to turn and shoot.
Yeah.
And he goes straight away. But obviously that one wouldn't have counted because it would have been offside anyway. But the second one is the one where the ball goes into the box and it goes off Reynildo, then it goes to Broby, and then David Raya just kind of does the thing you should do as a goalkeeper, even though I was pissed off with him doing it at the time, obviously, but made himself very big and then ended up sort of saving the shot and claiming the ball. But let's get to the moments. The moment that's like that's probably going to be replayed quite a few times. Yeah. So obviously Sunderland have got the ball. We are. Hang on, I'll quickly answer this one from Nick. Why didn't Reynildo have a shot on that chance, Michael? I can only assume because he didn't anticipate the ball coming to him as quickly as he did, because it bounces kind of off him towards Broby, doesn't it? So I don't know, but I can see the question there. But yes, so Hume lobs the ball into the box. Ballard, again, what he's doing in the opposition penalty area, I have no idea, but he wins the header. And then Broby, of course, sends the stadium alight in what I can only imagine would have been absolute pandemonium. It would have been. It looked on the TV. It looked absolutely amazing. I'm gutted I wasn't there, but it looked incredible. What was the moment like when Broby hit the back of the net?
It just reminded me so much of so many other moments we've had recently. I feel like we're getting quite accustomed to late winners, late equalisers, late big goals in that Roker end goal. You know, and everyone, pandemonium is the correct word. Just everyone absolutely losing their minds over, you know, especially when we spent, 20 minutes was it or so, just constantly trying to get that next goal. And I think what's so good about this team at the moment is like there's just so much confidence about them. Like, yeah, we went 2-1 down, and effectively you're a goal down against a team that have won 10 games in a row. You've got no right to win that game. So you've got no right to get anything out of that game. You're 2-1 down to a team that has won 10 games in a row. Any sane person thinks we're getting nothing out of this. But the lads, they just kept going, and they didn't let
till the end.
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't let the unlikelihood of us getting a result mathematically wise affect them at all. If anything, it motivated them. And you can see, the belief was there. There was a few times where Xhaka had the ball 30, 40 yards out and people are shouting, shoot. And that's kind of desperation kicking in. Oh, someone just have a go. But there wasn't a shot on.
Exactly.
His line of the goal was completely blocked. If he has a shot, he's just giving the ball away. What actually shows signs of belief is, let's keep doing the right things. If I've not got something on, I'll pass it there. Let's drag Arsenal over to that side. Pass it back there. Drag them over there. Try and create a little gap somewhere. Be patient. And eventually that's what we did. Hume puts it into a good area. Ballard gets the flick on. And just, like I say, it's such an awkward position to be in as a goalkeeper. I mean, Raya's thinking, do I come for it? Do I stay on my line? If I stay on my line, everyone's going to say, should I come for it? If I come for it and I don't get it, it's a goal. It's a horrible position to be in. The defenders don't know how to react because they don't know what Raya's going to do. Broby just flings himself at it. And that's what this team's really kind of, that's how we're earning our points, is we're just throwing ourselves at things, It was like that late goal at Chelsea. We just, Talby and Gertrude and Broby just getting forward and just giving it a go. Because the belief always seems to be there.
And that's one of the big things for me, because I've got to credit Broby for this, because I think that must not be an easy finish to try and do whatsoever. Because
great finish.
Oh no, but especially because one, he's getting a toe on it in midair while he's getting manhandled by Gabriel, while David Raya's coming at him as well. All of that happening at the same time. Gets a toe onto it, and then the back of the net happens. And I couldn't have been so fair play to him. That is a fantastic finish. And actually when I've watched the Sky coverage of the goal back, and I love the fact that Broby just looks like he's so elated to have scored.
Yeah.
And especially, as you've probably seen, it's been documented, the personal stuff off the pitch that's been happening with Broby in the last year or so at Ajax. all the stuff that should never be happening to anybody. But for him, I was so delighted for him. Because he's someone, and I think Broby, to be fair, is someone who, if we get even taken away from what he's gone through, because of course what he's gone through is going to mess with anyone's head. But that aside, even just from a football point of view, he's coming to a different league in a different culture altogether, different way of playing, different country, everything else that's gone on. So I think for him, and obviously he was crucial in the match. He got the match winner assist at Chelsea, and obviously scored an equaliser against top of the league Arsenal. So
Yeah.
yeah, I couldn't have been happy for him. But what I absolutely adored about it was just how, and it's so cliche to say this, but when the goal goes in, nearly everyone runs towards Broby. Everybody,
Yeah.
like it, you can just tell. Even someone like Xhaka, who of course is playing against his old club, Dan Ballard against his old club, a club they'll probably have a lot of affection for. But even then, it was just in that moment they just went absolutely apeshit. To be honest, with the crowd running towards them, and togetherness. It's a cliche again. It's another cliched word, but it's true. Like it is so much togetherness, and when that happens, it's quite hard to stop. It's quite hard
Yeah.
to. And believe me, we have definitely seen it on the other side of it as well. We've seen it more than enough times. But you can appreciate just how together the squad feels, how united it feels, how
Ah.
and that's one of the things that makes me wish I was there, because I can imagine if I'd been there, that would have probably been one of my favorite games I would have ever been to, and we
It's
drew the game.
it's one of my. It'll go like I said at the beginning. It'll go down for me as one of those really memorable games at the Stadium of Light. And again, look, I know we didn't win. But I've been saying to people going, oh yeah, we beat Arsenal 2-2 at the weekend, because that's how it feels.
Yeah,
That's genuinely how amazing of a result that is. Like to stop their 10-game winning run. To be, I think we're the only team this season that's scored more than one goal against them. The
something
only
like
one
that.
that's
Yeah,
scored a goal against them since September, and we did it twice. Just absolutely
twice in
unbelievable.
one
Yeah,
game.
yeah. And Bobby, he did. He kept his eye on the ball, concentration. And I just think like these things happen for you
I agree, Richard. He will be.
when you were saying there, like the togetherness that we've got, like when everyone is desperate to win, just as much for them as the person next to them, you know. And we have seen it on the other side. We've had relegation squads and teams that failed year after year after year, and the morale's not good. But people just like in the lads in this team, they just never ever. They never know when they're beaten. Like they will never
No.
stop trying.
And even it's funny, I think I'd love to know how many late goals we've scored this calendar year alone. I think we've already got, is it 5 or 6 in the Premier League already? So was Isidore West Ham, Isidore Brentford. I want to say, I think it was the own goal Wolves. I think it
Yeah,
was.
that was right at the end and added
Yeah,
time.
yeah, exactly. Then it was the late winner at Chelsea. Then obviously the late equaliser against Arsenal. And I feel like there might be one more that I'm missing, but I could be wrong. But there's that one. And that's not even including Mayender 88-minute winner at Coventry, which if you were at, I believe that would have been
Yeah,
incredible itself. Ballard, the iconic 122nd minute aggregate winner. Watson, 95th minute winner at Wembley. So for my own heart rate, Sunderland, I'd greatly prefer you get this done much earlier rather than the 90th minute. But having said all of that, you just can't knock it. It's not a bad trait to have whatsoever. Let's get this next comment out. 5 goals, says B Fly Fix. That's what I'm just going to call it. Sounds a decent name. 5 goals after 90 minutes. 2 of those gave us wins. Yeah.
and I think 3 of them have been draws as well. So I think we've picked up 9 points from losing positions, which
That's another
is
good thing, yeah.
surely up there with one of the best in the league.
It has
And
to be.
again, that's the belief. We might concede a goal. We might go behind. But like I've just got so much confidence in this team. It was like against Everton. I thought we were really, really poor in the first half against Everton. That's the
First
first
half hour,
time.
we were terrible. Yeah.
I mean, people say the first half hour. I thought even the first full half, I thought we were really, really poor. But half time, I had full confidence that Lebris was going to know how to change things, and I always say that about Lebris. If the first half doesn't go to plan, he'll always come up with something for the second. He'll always come up with a plan of how to change things, and he always figures it out. And like I say, against Everton, we had such a poor first half. Second half, we score after 40 seconds. You know what I mean? It's just that belief of let's get there, let's get an early goal, and let's chase a win. And unfortunately, we didn't get the win, but we made a really good account of ourselves.
But the other thing as well in that game, even the game was still 1-0, and that was always the thing, that is you stay in it, and then your
Yeah.
chance comes when it comes. And one thing I actually want to get your thoughts on, because we'll talk more about the season generally, because I know we've got you for a limited amount of time. But one things I've seen since the game, and I think it was Mark Chapman, I think, who hosts Match of the Day, but he was on Sky Sports, like sort of previewing all of the Sunday games and everything else. There was I can't remember who else said it. There's a couple of people who've said something along the effect of, in the long run, that's not a bad point for Arsenal. For Arsenal, and obviously it's a better point for us in the circumstances, and it's generally a better point for Sunderland, I think. But I got what they meant. The fact that Sunderland are now starting to get the respect of Stadium of Light is now getting a reputation this season of being a very hard place to go. And obviously, look, are we going to go unbeaten at home? I mean, I hope so, but I'd be very surprised if we did that.
The longer it goes on, the better for the belief. What was a bigger deal for me than getting a point out of the game was that's another game at home we're undefeated, and the longer that goes on, it's a pride thing. It's not just a confidence thing. It's like it's nice for your ego to go. Yeah, you come to the stadium like no one has beat us here yet. No one. People
exactly
have picked up points, but no one's beaten us yet. And I think the longer that goes on, the more belief that there is. Every home game we're going to come in and we're going, we're not going to get beat today. And now that we've played Arsenal, there's don't get us wrong, you've still got Liverpool and City to come to the stadium who, are arguably around about, just as good potentially as they are this season. But there's, like I say, there's no one now to be scared of at home. And like I say, we've got that pride. Let's keep it going.
And another thing as well is it plays into the minds of the opposition, doesn't it? Because you sort of go in. Because you sort of, I mean, it could work both ways. It could be the reverse psychology of, come on, then let's become the first team to beat them. But it also makes you think, oh God, we're going to Sunderland and they haven't lost at home. So that's great. But the point is, when I'm seeing people saying that in the long run is a good point, is not the worst point in the world for Arsenal, I'm going, that is probably the biggest compliment I think we can actually get personally, because we're a newly promoted team. We're a brand new team. A lot of people don't mention this, but it's a team assembled, most of it, like, I was going to say on the sly, really, but it's not. Like, it's done, but it's all recruited, a lot of it it's all recruited within a short time frame in the summer. I mean, who's at the weekend? Who was it that's been with us in the Championship that started? Isidore, Lefay, Ballard, and Hume, and then the rest of it's new players.
Starting 11 wise.
Yeah, exactly. And then even new like Talby, Adingra, and Broby, new signings again coming off the bench. So, the long story short of it is, I think when you're getting that, it's a massive amount of respect. And now, the thing is, and I'm glad that somehow the people who've been saying, we've not played anyone yet, we'll come back down to earth when we play anyone good. Oh, we've not beat anyone decent yet. No, your squad's not that good. Funny how they've just disappeared into the shadows and aren't saying anything now. So, funny that. 4 points off Chelsea and Arsenal. Not played anyone good yet, though.
No, definitely, mate.
Let's have a look. Oh, God, I hope we can bounce back and beat Fulham. Yeah, I think with the December... Although I don't certainly fear the fixtures in December as what I probably did at the start of the season, we probably could do with getting a good result at Fulham just because of that. Terry, it feels great, mate. How good is it to be 7 points both in life? Do you know what, right? I've seen a few Newcastle fans really, and I get it, they're not going to like how well we've done so far. But with all due respect to them, get over it and suck it up. Just get over it, because we've had to watch you be the richest club in the world, being in the Champions League, winning the Carabao Cup, while we went down twice and been in League One for 4 years. Get over it.
No, this is what I keep saying to them, because there was that one that rang up TalkSport and saying I'm getting sick of all these Sunderland fans. I'm going, mate, we had 8-9 years of being like the laughing stock of the country. Like, we were the team, especially when we were in League One. Everyone in England was just pointing at and laughing at.
It got to the point where we're laughing at ourselves. With it,
You know how embarrassing it is to have that reputation for a decade. Meanwhile, your closest rivals are having the most success that they've had since the turn of the century. Since really they were, they had obviously those good few years under Bobby Robson and whatever.
I completely agree.
This is our time to enjoy it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think if any set of fans deserves it, it's ours.
100%.
We've been through them. Like, honestly, if you guys don't believe us, go back and watch what me and Jack were like 4 years ago on Fan TV when we were stuck in League One. What was it, like 3-4 years in League One and still hadn't got out of it?
4 years in the third division.
There you go. That's all you got to say. That is undoubtedly the worst period of our history, and that's where fans like me, Jack, and not just us two, plenty of other Sunderland fans, a lot of us stuck with the club through the worst point of its existence, effectively. So if any, we deserve to enjoy this. So frankly, I don't know how if there is any Newcastle fans watching this, but if there is, get over it and suck it up, because quite frankly, we've had to do that over the last however many years. And so if you kind of deal with it, then just get lost. But anyway, yeah, I had to get that out of the way because it's something that does annoy me a little bit. Stevie Watson. I don't know what point he's saying 100% to, but I like the fact you've said it, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is me, mate, Annie Harris, who I do championship review panel shows with, who's a Bristol City fan. He says, just watching this with a hint of jealousy. Now, he said...
I didn't know who that was. I thought it was a mag at first.
No, well, Annie, sorry, he's insulted you.
Sorry, mate.
But yeah, no, he did actually. Me and him are in a group chat with a few other fans of. Well, at the time, it was Championship fans. So there's a Leicester fan there, Leeds fan. I think it was obviously Bristol City fan, Cardiff fan, Swansea fan, whatever, and obviously me, Sunderland fan. But he was saying on Saturday in the group chat, he celebrated both Sunderland goals like they were like Bristol City had scored them. Now, considering I don't know if I've influenced Annie that negatively to the point where he feels like he's got a soft spot for Sunderland, but I'll take it all the same. But yeah, so let's talk about the season generally before we start to wrap the video. We've got about probably say 15, 20 minutes probably.
Yeah, about 15 minutes, 20. Yeah,
champion. I remember messaging you, I think it was on Instagram, and we were just chatting after the playoff final, and I think you'd said, and not without reason, you'd accepted relegation pretty much already.
Yeah, I was just like, it's going to happen, isn't it? We're going to go down, though.
But yeah, look, based on the last couple of seasons, you wouldn't have been wrong for thinking that. And I said, to me, it depended on one word, and that was recruitment. It depended heavily on how much were we going to spend, because we had to spend. To have any chance of being competitive in this division, we had to spend. I think another one was the quality level of recruitment. Now, I'll ask you this, right? If I said to you at the start of the summer, Sunderland by the November international break will be 4th in the league on 19 points. Granted, to be fair, we're 3 points off 12th, but we'll take 4th anyway. 4th on 19 points. While signing Granit Xhaka as well, you would have probably thought, right, what crack cocaine have I smoked?
Exactly. And I would have wanted to myself.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course you would have done.
No, honestly, I was one of those people that when we went up said, look, I've got no illusions. We're going straight back down. But my thinking was, you come down, you've got all the parachute money.
Like that was what I was thinking.
In the championship, you then become a team that's impossible to compete with in the championship, and you then go, like for example, what Burnley have been, where they've had two incredible seasons either side of a Premier League relegation. Maybe the second time you go up is then when you stay up. But in all fairness, I also wasn't really expecting the club to actually give it as much of a go as what they did. I've always felt like KLD has always been, just one or two signings away from having a really good team while being under KLD. Like I remember when we first got promoted from League One and we had that season where we were in the playoffs. I genuinely think another centre half and another striker, there's no reason why we wouldn't have went on to win those playoffs. So
yeah, I agree.
I wasn't really expecting him to actually go and sign not just so many players, but so many good ones as well. I was sort of expecting him to try and keep mainly the same squad, maybe make a few signings, probably accept the fact that we were going to go down and then try and make a better fist of it going back up again.
Do you think similar to what Ipswich did to a point, where they basically signed a lot of players for this season rather than last season?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ipswich, to be honest, almost kind of accepted the fact that they were probably going to go down and try to effectively sign the championship team of the season, have two squads worth of top-level championship players to try and have, an insane season this season and then maybe make a bit more of a fist of it next season. But actually, it hasn't really worked out for them, has it? Because they're not doing great in the championship this season.
It's weird though, because I think that they're 3 points off like 6th, I think it is. The championship's quite I don't know how much of the championship you kept up with since we got promoted, but basically it's actually a very, very tight division. Well, obviously apart from Coventry running away with it at the moment. Ipswich Ipswich are obviously only a few points off it, really. Thanks, Stevie, for this.
When you consider that in the Premier League last season and how things have typically went, that's really poor.
Well, yeah, because you would expect parachute teams to be right near the top, wouldn't you?
Well, generally, they're all three of them will finish in the top 6 easily. Two tend to be in the top 2 spots. That's how it tends to be.
Well, exactly, yeah. I mean, even if you look at the year when we finished 16th under #Beal Doddsball, but even then you had Leicester, Ipswich, Leeds, Southampton, and they were miles ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
Even last season,
it was that top 5, wasn't it? Really, that was kind of.
Well, last season was the same, really, where I still stand by. I think we did really well to finish in the position we did last season because you're up against Leeds, Burnley, and Sheffield United, who all have bigger resources, parachute payments. I think Burnley and Sheffield United year 1 parachute teams as well. And it just goes back to the point of how well we were ran here. So I think we deserve a lot of credit. And I'm someone who's given KLD huge stick in the past, and particularly when it came around the BCB incident when it came to the Cup derby. So Sunderland, don't do that this time, please. But I don't think you will. The Black Cats Barn nonsense, but which was deserved criticism at the time. But
Yeah, it
it's
was.
almost
Yeah.
like he took that personally and went, right, I'm going to go all out and make sure we get promoted and we're in the top one in the Premier League, which is fair enough. But I feel quite personally vindicated now because I have someone who's stuck by Christian Speakman a lot as well and said that actually when a lot of people were calling for him to go, and I was going, I don't think that's the right call. I think there's will, as long as we tweak, adjust accordingly. And if we didn't adjust and tweak, then fair enough. Then get it and have him gone. But I felt like almost like it's kind of the Warrior vindicated now in saying that it will have worked. But Stevie's comment here, I just want to quickly read. So it says, so again, he's a Plymouth fan, but with a lot of respect for the guy. Really happy for Sunderland, a fan base that have suffered. You hear me, Newcastle fans? You haven't suffered under Ashley. We've actually suffered. Have suffered since the former Premier League days, and you all stuck by the club and really deserve happy times again. Obviously, of course, no club's got a God-given right to do anything. We even said that in League One ourselves, didn't we? That
Oh yeah, I was
even
sick
in
of
League
seeing
One.
it.
Oh yeah, of course, we were sick of saying it, and we were sick of hearing it. Like, no club's got a God-given right to do anything, but if any set of fans deserve to enjoy it, it's us. But yeah, no, and I think this season, what I was expecting from initially, I think I said we would go down until we signed Xhaka. That was the moment where it made me think, hang on, they're taking this seriously here. They're giving this a real, proper go at actually being competitive, not just trying to stay up. Well, what's the phrase? Not survive in the Premier League only, but thrive in it. And so far, long way to go, but so far we have done so. I thought we would, but I thought we were going to sign probably 5 or 6 big players, but keep the core of what we had. But where
I
when
thought the same.
yeah,
I thought 3, 4, 5, 6. Try and keep
yeah,
the core team the
across the
same.
squad, yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that was what I thought we were going to do. But the honest thing was we didn't know how we were going to approach it. What probably has helped us, and this is one of the reasons I backed us not spending, even if fans went, oh, it's not showing ambition in the Championship, not spending as much. To me, it's no coincidence now that we didn't spend as much in the Championship because once we got the Premier League with PSR, we were able to fling it and give it a really good go.
Yeah, and I think I can probably eat a little bit of humble pie now for. Don't get me wrong, I've always thought I've always thought Christian Speakman's done a really good job at recruitment. You know, we've had a few bad players.
And Stuart Harvey as well, sorry, by the way, just
over
adding
this.
that.
Yes,
He deserves a lot of credit for that.
And everyone associated with the club really since the takeover happened and so much changed. I've always thought that they've done really well. However, I was criticising them probably the last 3 seasons because I felt like there was just a little bit of lack of ambition to get promoted. I felt like we were always just a little bit short of that.
Do you think we always got to here, but we couldn't go there?
Yeah,
You know
exactly.
I mean?
Or for example, like after that first season in the Championship, we had a really good opportunity to go, right, let's build on that. Let's go and sign some top end players. Let's get ourselves promoted. And we didn't, and we had a really poor season. We had the season in the middle where we finished 16th. And then after that, of course, like we let Clark go. We didn't really replace him. I know Mundell was already at the club, but he hadn't done a great deal. And I don't think anyone had been particularly impressed.
I mean, we hadn't signed a replacement in the same window.
So yeah.
Okay.
And I felt like the signings that we made weren't particularly ambitious. Maybe until right at the end, Isidore, a little bit maybe. And I always felt like you say, we're getting here. We're getting so close. We need maybe another little bit more, and we'll go up. But I can see what the plan was now was to get promoted because once you're in the Premier League, that's when you really need to spend money. And we've been able to spend more really than any other promoted team's been able to do, basically, other than Forest-ish. Depends on what.
Well, if you compare us to Leeds and Burnley, for example,
they've not spent anywhere near as much.
Exactly, because they've earned more money than we have because they were in the Premier League. But they've also lost more. They've also spent more money, so their scope is not as big as what ours was because we haven't spent anywhere near as much. So for me, that's where I think the credit is deserved. And I do agree with the criticism that actually I thought that if you could just get that focal point and look, even say what was it, start of 2024, us in Ipswich going for Kiefer Moore, for example. Now as it turned out, Kiefer Moore turned into a Sunderland fan at the end and decided to give us the pass that ended up helping us go up. But the point is, he's actually doing quite well at Wrexham, to be fair, Kiefer Moore. But the point is, we always felt like there could be that little extra focal point there. But another part of the long-term plan, look at someone like Mayenda, where obviously a lot of people I thought wrote him off far too quickly. And I think then if you're looking at the second season, He came up last season. His second season last year, he came up trumps massively, and he ended up getting, what was it, 10 goals in the end for someone who's in their second year of English football. So I think that's quite impressive. We signed him for less than £1 million, and Wilson Isidore getting him on loan, and then obviously triggering the calls to get him permanently. So it comes back down to running yourself well, and I think they're not everyone's cup of tea, but I quite like them. The Second Tier podcast did a video at the end of last season, and they made a brilliant point on Sunderland. I think that if you're a non-parachute club, look at what we did. If you ran yourself well enough and executed well enough to the point like we did, you can go up. And actually, I think this season in the Championship, there's probably a good opportunity for a few non-parachute teams to get promoted. But
definitely, because the ones who have got the parachute payments, they're struggling a little bit.
Yeah, Sheffield United are in the bottom three. I mean, I don't think they'll finish. I mean, I hope they do, because I don't like Chris Wilder a lot. I hate him, actually. But I don't think they'll go down. They shouldn't.
No, they're starting to string a few results together.
No,
now.
Exactly. I mean, I think with the team they've got, it's quite shocking they're down there, to be totally honest. But there's that one. But Sheffield United are down near where they are. I think it's at the point where I would write off promotion, unless they had a fantastic run and sneaked into 5th or 6th, which could happen. Where stranger things have happened. Funny I said Stranger Things. I've been getting into that show recently. But then there was Southampton, who have built a couple of results together, but still haven't started great. Leicester feel like they're kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Good individuals, but not really a team at the moment. And then Ipswich are the only ones that are showing any degree of competence. So
Ipswich are not doing anywhere near as well as I thought Ipswich were going to walk the league. I really did.
I wouldn't go as far personally as they'd walk it, but I did think they'd win it. I did think and I still think they'll get
it very comfortably.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, if you look at it, but they built a Championship super team, didn't they? So you would expect them to do it.
That's not the reason why I thought that, really.
Yeah, no, well, that's fair enough. And Kieran McKenna's a really good manager as well. So that was another thing. But the point I'm making is more that the fact we've come up after 8 years out of the Prem. I've got the dogs with me, by the way, so in case they start barking, I should have said this about an hour ago, but you know why. But no, I think we've done really well, and I think to get to the last 10 minutes, right? I think for me, the big thing for this season, I always said, was get to 40 points as quick as possible.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm still of that persuasion. I still think we need. Now, I don't know about you, because I've heard a few people start to talk about Sunderland as if we're not in the relegation battle conversation anymore. I'd like to hope that's the case, and I think we will. And I think we will stay up. Actually, I think we will have more than enough now, barring crucial players get injured for the rest of the season and that sort of crisis. Because it is Sunderland, you never know, anything can happen. But I think unless that happens, I think Sunderland will be all right now. But I'm still of the opinion, get to 40 points as possible, and then see where we go from there if we get to that tally. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, I would say instead of 40, I would actually say 45, just because I think the entire league is a little bit closer together this season than what it has been, in a long time. What we've seen over the Premier League over the last few years is the relegated teams being so far off the standard for everyone else. But actually now, I think barring Wolves, who I think could genuinely break a record for having a low number of points, I don't think anyone will have a drastically low number like what they have had over the last few years. So I think it could be actually a case of getting 45 to guarantee that you're staying up. If we could pick a handful of players and go, there is absolutely no chance they're going to get injured, I would say I am 100% confident this team will stay up. What concerns me is if Roofs, Xhaka or Siddiqui get an injury, I think we're in big trouble, because I don't think there's anyone else in the squad who can really do what they do. I think Roofs is head and shoulders above any other goalkeeper at the club. I don't think there's anyone in the squad that can play Xhaka's role like he plays it.
Yeah.
I mean, it would probably be Gertrude maybe playing holding midfielder, but he wouldn't bring the same leadership
and level of experience that Xhaka does.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Experience, leadership. And Siddiqui, I just think he's just such a complete midfielder. I know I said a little bit earlier that he has been making a couple of mistakes recently, but you can forgive him for those. I still think his overall game plan is really, really good. And look, I get the point that Gertrude can probably play hold midfield well, but it's just the experience that will be missing from Jack. I think that is genuinely helping us towards so many points. One thing in particular, just going back to the Arsenal game, when there was a point in time, I think it was just after Ballard's block, where we kind of sort of looked as if we were going to hit them on the counter and then end up going out for a throw-in. Straight away, Mukele is picking the ball up. It was about the halfway line, and he's thinking, let's launch it forward and let's try and get a third goal. And everyone in the stadium, including myself, is saying, come on, let's get a winner. Xhaka runs over, stands in front of him, and takes the ball out of his hands. And I think everyone was going, oh, that was our chance. But that was him going, no. Don't throw it forward and waste this point. Keep it.
Yeah.
Slow it down. And I think little things like that are what someone like Gertrude probably wouldn't just quite bring to the team. So I think if those type of players that I've mentioned could stay fit, no worries at all about what's going down. However, until we get there, and I'm still standing by 45 points, I'm not going to just relax yet.
Well, clearly there's a few people that disagree with you. But to be fair, I do, to be fair. I'd be quite surprised if 45 is needed, but I get what you mean. If you want to make absolutely sure of it.
I just think to be certain, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a team that finishes on 40 points this season that goes down. When you look at how many teams are down there who I think is still going to pick up points, like there's no way West Ham and Forest and Everton are all going to be on such low points. There's no way. You look at last season, the teams that finished just above the relegation zone were on kind of early 40s.
38 Tottenham was like 17th on 38, but the caveat with Tottenham and Man United, because I think Man U finished 15th, both of them sacked off the Prem games to focus on the Europa League. That's
and last season was completely different. This season it's so much more competitive in the Premier League. I mean, I need to be looking at last season.
Well, I'll just play devil's advocate for a second, right? Do you think the reason that it was that last season happened the way it is because the promoted clubs weren't competitive? Whereas because Leeds and Burnley, take us out of it for a second. If you look at Leeds and Burnley, they're still getting. Okay, I know they've both lost the last two games, but they're still getting enough points to keep them. They're still both out of the relegation zone, so it's less points that established clubs can then get. So could it not be that it maybe need a bit less this year?
No, because I just think the points are being spread out so much more. For example, I think whoever wins the league isn't going to need as many points as what they have done in so many years gone by, because I feel like apart from Wolves, genuinely everyone's quite competitive. I mean, just take us for an example. We've beaten Chelsea away and drawn home to Arsenal, yet we got beat off Burnley. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's so competitive and kind of anyone.
No, I do take that. I love Richard's comment here. Didn't think we could miss Diarra either. We have to accept we have a good squad. No, have to accept about it. I love accepting it. no have tos about it. Yeah, I need one of them to miss the. Yeah, quickly on this. So what do you reckon about the Xhaka and Siddiqui 4 yellow cards thing? Because that's obviously something that I'm like. I don't ever want anyone to get booked.
I do.
But with hang on. But with the Mags game coming closer, I'm like, that is the one game they both have to play for me. That is the one game we cannot miss. You know, either of them. The only way you could get away with missing one of them is if Siddiqui was missing, but Diarra's back alongside Xhaka or something like that. But even then, Diarra and Siddiqui don't offer exactly the same roles within the team for me. So I think, but okay, here's one then. How about we have them for the next few games? They both get booked away at Liverpool. They both miss Man City, back for the Mags game.
I wouldn't want to be without both of them for the same game. I think what would probably be the best case scenario is that
it'd be like one missing for one game, then the other one missing the next game.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the fixtures now. We've got Fulham next, and then Bournemouth after. Now, I'm not encouraging anyone to do anything that they shouldn't do.
However, but you're going to say something that sounds like it.
However, if there's a few minutes left of that Fulham game, and the game's gone one way or the other, I don't think it will be a bad idea for Siddiqui to just pull someone's shirt, pick up a yellow card, miss the Bournemouth game, and then for Xhaka to then do the same in the Bournemouth game. I don't think that'll be, and then for him to miss the Liverpool one. I don't think that'll be a terrible idea. And then that way, we're both losing them a game separately, and one of the games that we're losing them for is a midweek one where we've got a 3-game week, so it gives someone an extra game to rest. Not that I've been thinking about this loads, and not that I want them to be sort of.
Jack, it makes you feel better. I've been thinking about that as well, because I was thinking, well, hang on, if one misses Liverpool, that means they're fresher for Man City, and then if one gets booked against Liverpool, they're missing Man City. They've got 10 days off before the Mags game, so yeah, you can tell we're not overthinkers at all.
That's what's been going through my head the last few days.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I'm actually like really let's just say hopefully that they're all fit for the Mags. Everyone's ready for the Mags game.
Well, apparently Diarra's going to be back for that as well, as we mentioned
The
before.
only concern I've got there is how match fit and match sharp is he going to be?
But if he can come on and offer us 30 minutes or so in midfield toward the end, that could
help
be
shore up a 3-0 win, hopefully. For
yeah,
Sunderland.
exactly. Make it 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that'd be nice, wouldn't it? For me personally, in terms of who goes down, I agree with Nick's comment here. That's who I think will get relegated. I think for me, the way I look at it in the relegation picture is Wolves for me, unless something miraculous happens, which can happen, but it's unlikely. If the start of the season's anything to go by, I think Wolves go down. I think Wolves probably finish. I could maybe see them finishing above one of Leeds or Burnley, but I don't think they'll have enough to stay up.
Nah, I think they're
And then,
rock bottom. Like.
and then for me, I think the main thing you've got to look at now, because of how much money the established teams have got, and how much because they've been in the Prem successive seasons one after another, they're able to go out and spunk money like we probably can't yet, unless we stay up. If we stayed up next season, we could maybe do it as long as we manage it properly. But with PSR, but for me, I'm looking at it is if Wolves go down, we have to be. If we finish the highest of the promoted clubs, we stay up. Simple as that.
Oh yeah, I think if we finish above Leeds and Burnley, I definitely think we still up. But like even Leeds and Burnley, like they've been really competitive. Burnley have had some really good performances. They've taken some of the top teams right to the very end of some games. I think Burnley were a little bit unlucky, especially at the start. They sort of conceded a few late goals that they couldn't have done a great deal about. I did feel sorry for them when they got beat against Liverpool because they defended so well all game. And then, it was a handball that was just, wrong place, wrong time. Man United, they pushed them at the end. They got beat right at the end there. So I don't think anyone in the Premier League other than Wolves is genuinely not capable of beating anyone else. I think Wolves will be rock bottom, mind. I wouldn't be surprised if they do break some kind of record this season. But I think
do you think Derby County,
is quite open.
Do you think Derby County, you're just sitting there going, can someone please be shit enough to break our record? We don't want to get referred to as the worst Premier League team ever. Can someone please get 10 points or less?
A horrible record to have.
Oh, God. Southampton came quite close to beating it last year, didn't they? So,
yeah. Just one thing that Lax has mentioned on the chat there, saying Wolves are screaming, preparing for the Championship, hiring Rob Edwards. I find that such a strange career move. He's doing really well with Middlesbrough, second in the league. They are flying. They look really likely to get promoted. And he's throwing that away, to me, almost certainly get relegated with Wolves.
That's what I was someone who stuck up for Rob Edwards' appointment in the summer because, like, at Championship level, he was nowhere near as bad an appointment as I thought a lot of people were making him out to be. But there was a specific reason I said at Championship level. I think he did okay enough with Luton, given the lack of resources. I know they had the Prem money, but a lot of that goes towards their new stadium. So really, they had the lowest budget by some way, if we're being realistic. And he performed the best of the promoted sides. Now, granted, that's not saying much because they did get relegated, but it was expected to happen anyway. But I think with Edwards, I think just having rebuilt himself at Borough, I think he's taken a massive risk going to Wolves.
Yeah.
Huge risk. Now, it could be that Wolves might be preparing. Well, from our point of view, it's a good thing because it's one less team we have to worry about. But if they're preparing for the Championship with Edwards, then we'll wait and see. Leeds lost 4 of their last 5 games. Yes, they have done. I've got my question marks with Leeds, with Daniel Farke specifically. I'm not sure that I don't think. Right, here's the best way I can look at it. If you compare us to, say, Leeds and Burnley, right? I think the best example is the last 2 games, last 2 games for all of us. Leeds and Burnley have both lost while we've picked up a point. And I think that for me is what I think will end up separating us at the end of could end up separating us at the end of the season, where when we're getting these, it's not necessarily just the wins, although that does help. It's picking up those little points here and there when everyone down below us loses, and that extra point gap over them all adds up towards the end of the season, in my opinion. But
yeah, no, 100%. I do agree. I was just wanting to bring that up because I think he's making a big mistake. I think he's got a really good thing going at Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
I think Middlesbrough, a really big club, really well organised, and at the minute, the flying high. And as a manager, you don't always get to be at a club where you're suited, where you've got a good squad who understand the way you want to play and think you got off to such a good start. To walk into Wolves where it's a complete and utter mess, you're already starting off on 2 points after 11 games. You've got
on the back foot in a lot of ways.
You've got less than 30 games to pick up probably 40 points, or close to 40 points anyway.
Well, I was going to say we've got, so 11 games in, so that's 27 games left. So what you need to get, like 38 points in 27 games, it's a lot to ask, isn't it?
That's upper mid-table form, that.
And bearing in mind, you've already lost to all of the promoted clubs, 2 of which being at home as well.
Yeah.
against Leeds and Burnley. I mean, Sunderland away I think is a bit different to Leeds and Burnley at home. But like if you're looking at Leeds and Burnley at home, you can't be losing both games. You have to be at least getting something out of both of them. True, you
And
need to be winning at least one of them, really.
for me, I think that the reason why I just think Wolves are going to go down is when we played them at the Stadium of Light, they just offered nothing. Like they were actually not as easy to play against as what I thought they were going to be because they just sat off us completely and didn't come forward at all.
Yeah.
But like
I
when
didn't think they were
were,
bad second half, but the problem is if they were but hang on, but if they weren't bad second half and we still came away with a 2-0 win, then it's like that's concerning
I
if you're
just
Wolves.
felt as if like they at no point threatened us at all throughout the entire 90 minutes, and that for me is the big
Yeah,
difference.
I know what you mean. It just screams a bit of doomed. And like I said, Rob Edwards. Look, just to caveat this, watch Rob Edwards be mint, and then they win like 23 games now, 27. But even Nick's just said it here. 12 wins in 27 games is what they're probably going to need. So they
Yeah,
essentially need to win half of their games, pretty much. You're
well,
looking at it that
they
way.
haven't won one yet, so yeah,
So it's and that's what I mean. So even when we drew against Arsenal, I think Chelsea played Wolves, didn't they, in the 8 o'clock kickoff? So I was just going right. We need Chelsea to win that, and that's the big thing. Even in the event, worst case scenario that Wolves do, let's pretend for a second Wolves go on a great run of form and transform. I don't think it'll happen, but say it
no,
did, we've already 17 points ahead of them,
yeah,
and
exactly.
and
That's going
that's
to
a
take me
big thing.
months to catch up on.
Well, exactly. So it's a huge thing. And then you look at Leeds. Leeds have got horrendous fixtures coming up between now and the new year, I think. Burnley, I'm not convinced Burnley will have enough, if I'm totally honest, but I said that at the start of the season. So, but for me, ultimately, I think for me, if we can comfortably avoid relegation, then I'm very satisfied with that this season. If we manage to get top 10, like KLD apparently wants us to try and do, if you believe what he says on Sky, then I'd be buzzing with top half. Not going to get carried away with Europe just yet, because there's been a few people telling me, oh, come on, you've got to enjoy it. Yes, I am enjoying it, but I'm still trying to keep my one foot on the ground. Not both feet, but one foot on the ground. So we'll wait and see. If you look at Wolves' next
Do
fixture,
you know what it is? I think something with Europe, not to be a Scrooge, but it can be a bit of a gift and a curse. I think if you're not prepared for it, it can sometimes
and then
relegate you.
look at Forest.
Exactly. Burnley, they really struggled with it as well.
You have to have a massive squad for it, don't you?
Yeah, I think what
Like,
would be
like two 11s, really.
don't get me wrong, if it's the last game of the season and we need a point to get ourselves in Europe, you best believe I am praying for a point because I would
Just
really want it to
Chelsea,
happen.
you've already got top 4. Go on, just throw
But
this game away. It's fine.
like I just I think if I could choose
Hopefully,
right
Nick.
now, I would probably say let's finish about 10th. You know what I mean? Just and then build
Top
it up
half would
for
be a
next
great
season.
season still. Like, so here's one. We'll start to wrap this up because I'm aware you do have to head off shortly. But when will '09 get his first game in the Prem? Well, imagine it'd be quite funny if it was against the Mags when we're already 3-0 up and then we're just all laying around '09. Yeah, let's quickly talk about that game. How are you feeling ahead of it?
Um,
Because I know there's a lot of their fans that are shitting it. There's a lot of their fans and I think it's probably not helped how well we started and how good we look at the moment. I do still stand by the fact, despite their away form, derby games are totally different to regular league fixtures. I personally have a good feeling it'll end a draw, if I'm honest. But I think, and I don't think it's a terrible result either. If you take out the fact it's a derby, look at the squad they've got. It's still like really, really good. But if we beat them, of course, the City's going to be on cloud nine.
yeah. Initially, I was absolutely dreading it. As the season's gone on, I've gotten more excited for it because they're obviously not doing particularly well. They've also got a big Champions League game just before and the
Leverkusen
quarterfinal
away on the Wednesday, isn't it?
just after. Yeah, the Wednesday and Tuesday, or Wednesday after either side, midweek either side. As it's now getting closer, and I'm actually looking at it going, do you know what? We're almost certainly going to be above them in the table by the time that fixture comes round, really, unless they go on a really good run of form and we lose quite a few games. So we're probably going to be going into this, especially at home, probably being the favourites still with that, hopefully with that unbeaten run at home still intact. And I would really, really struggle if we got beat off them. I would really take that badly. So, um, excited, but very nervous at the same time because I just feel like it would be written in the stars for them to ruin that unbeaten run at home that we've got.
Yeah, no, that's kind of the thing. So maybe the one thing if we're lost at home to Bournemouth, you go, well, at least the Mags aren't the first team to do it if that does happen. So it's like, it's less impressive,
But I mean, looking at it logically, like by the time they play Bayer Leverkusen in the Champions League just before, they should really be still going there needing a result. Like they shouldn't be confirmed to be through in the top,
Yeah, I would
however
imagine so
many
as
it
well.
is. I think it's the top 8 or something
If the
that
top
go.
8 go through to the knockouts straight away, and I think it's like
Yeah,
9th to like 16th or something, or 9th to
and
24th
then
for the
I
playoffs.
think a lot's been made of them trying to have another good Carabao Cup run. I think they really want to win it again because of the fact that they won it last season.
I've got a horrible feeling they're going to win it again. And I
I
really hope
know.
I'm wrong.
But I just think they're going to be putting a lot of priority on those games, and they have really struggled in the league. They seem to play really well midweek. Then they have the weekend time to play the league game, and they struggle, and they're really good midweek again. Looking at it logically, really, especially how good we've been at home, we should have a good chance of winning this. And to be honest, I wanted us to go and try and beat them. But yeah, the
Well,
nerves are
Joe,
starting to kick in because I just feel like, I don't know, the pressure's on us a little bit, if anything.
so Joe Linton is still watching now. We thought he was going to kill Xhaka. In their words. Well, we'll wait and see. You know that picture of Granit Xhaka standing over, I can't remember who it was down for Arsenal. Was it
Yeah,
Giovanni,
yeah.
possibly? I can imagine him just doing that, but it's like over Bruno Ramirez in midfield. I'm like, oh, Xhaka, like, if I couldn't love you anymore, then yes, please. Well, I'm just looking at Newcastle's, so they're 6th at the minute, but obviously like 9 points, but Galatasaray are on 9 and 9th, 10th is Spurs on 8. Barcelona are below them, so you'd expect Barcelona to maybe pick up hopefully a little bit. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm hoping by the time the Leverkusen game comes round,
They still
they'll
need to win.
yeah,
Or at
exactly.
least the
So
result.
whatever that result is, then it's fine. And obviously, the fact it's away, it means on the Thursday they're going to be travelling back, and then it means everything else. So I'm hoping that's why I wanted it to be on the Saturday, Saturday lunchtime. There's 24 hours less, but yeah, we'll wait and see. But anyway, Jack, anything else you want to add before we finish, mate? Because I'm aware you do have to head off.
No, but it's been a real pleasure to speak to you, mate. Thank you for having me on.
No, thanks for coming on. We'll get this on again. Maybe if we beat the Mags, maybe we'll come on again at some point, and then we can just get all the Newcastle digs in there, and we'll
Celebratory stream.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And thanks to everybody who is as everybody's watching. Let's quickly get this last comment. As a Man United, I'm guest says, as a Man United fan, I can see Sunderland getting Conference League. That would be undoubtedly the best season of my life.
That would be great.
It would be, yeah. But we'll wait and see. Hopefully that does happen. But yeah, guys, thanks ever so much to everyone who's watched. It's been a really, really good stream, and I'm going to be doing a lot more content over the channel over the next couple of days. So we'll wait and see if you can enjoy that as much. But thanks again to Jack for joining me, and until next time, away the lads.